Hello, my friends. Another Sunday is here, and with Sunday there is another review of another black magic grimoire or dark grimoire. I have sent you, or I have put a vote last week for you. You could choose between three books, and we have another winner here. So I just want to speak about the book that you have chosen for review, and it is quite a tome, I would say. The book is called Dragon of the Two Flames, Demonic Magic, the Gods of Canaan. And it is written by very famous, probably one of the most famous authors in Left Hand Path and current contemporary demonolatry occultist, Mr. Michael W. Ford. Many of you practically, I'm sure, know his name. He is really, I would consider him like a scholar in the ways of the occult, Left Hand Path, demonic magic, Canaanite magic, and so on. For those of you that haven't read his book, I really recommend that, because also for the newcomers into the Left Hand Path and into the demonolatry, his books are practically a Bible, and he calls them also a Bible. There is a book that I will not review now, but it is like a precursor to this more complex one, and it's called the Bible of the Adversary. So it contains a lot of information about demonic magic, working with demons, but mostly about the theory and philosophy of the Left Hand Path, which is sometimes I think missing between us, that we speak so much about Satan, Lucifer, Left Hand Path, but sometimes these terms and the history behind it, many people can confuse. For many people it can be confusing. So what is the Dragon of the Two Flames? Dragon of the Two Flames, I think this is the older edition. It was published relatively long time ago. This is a book from 2012 by Succubus Productions. It can be still found on Amazon for a relatively good price. It is possible to have it in hardcover or paperback edition. I do have only paperback edition, but as this is quite a huge book, it has almost 600 pages, maybe you could consider also hardcover. Paperback is currently sold for $28, very affordable price, and hardcover is for $68. There is, I think, also another version and another print on the through the bulk publishing. To be honest, it is maybe the cover might be a little bit more modern, nicer, but I think that the content is the same, and the price is too high. So probably just order it through Amazon. If you would like to. So the book is probably, I would call it continuation on this Bible of the Adversary. It is meant for those of us that would like to work with the demonic currents, would like to understand how the names of the demons like Ashtaroth, Beelzebub, Leviathan, and others come also to the later on to the books of the Goetia. Mr. Ford does a very deep study on the history of these demons, gods, and spirits. But let's start from the beginning. At the beginning of the book, it is just a continuation of the Bible of the Adversary, as I mentioned. It speaks about the ideology, magic of Luciferianism, and the deific masks of Canaan. So by deific masks, he is inventor of this famous term that some spirit might, through our operations, show us in different ways, different forms. For example, Astaroth in Lesser Key of Solomon in Goetia might manifest to us in a form of Astarte or Ishtar, or with different deific mask. Also, Lucifer might come in the form of different deity that you would like to connect with him, with his different aspect. For example, the god of Pan, or Prometheus. So he also speaks that as the spirits and the gods were changing in the time, or were understood by the people differently in in different centuries. They were worshipped under different names, so their deific masks, or the way how they were manifesting to the humanity, as the humanity subconscious was changing a little bit, so the deities were changing as well. And he speaks a lot about the ideology of the left-hand path. This book is for people that really would like to go deeper into it. It's not maybe for the beginner, I wouldn't say so. Go with the book of the adversary, but if you really would like to even read like something like a religionistic historical study, this is the book. It contains also magic, or magical rituals, but the beginnings about it's practically a lot of philosophical essays about left-hand path. He discusses things like adversarial ideology, polytheism, individualism, and so on. So things that prepare us for the left-hand path. He comes later on, so a lot of chapters about Luciferianism and so on continue, and practically he also tries to explain these Judeo-Christian values and the impact of the Judeo-Christian religion on our current society and mind. He comes up with a theory, or practically with he is also trying to explain that from the historical point of view, in the time when the Semitic tribes or the tribes of Canaan were living in this area, they had different gods. So Yahweh was also one of the gods. Yeah, he explains the history of the Yahweh in the history when the 1000 before current era, and even later on. And the current Bible also describes these entities like Baal, Moloch, Ashtaroth in very demonic terms. But in those times, and he explains, as many of them were considered gods to specific Canaanite tribes. So the chapter continues with practically with the description of the area of Ammon, Moab, kingdom of Edom, kingdom of Philistines, and he describes how it looked like at that area in the ancient Near East. And each of these civilizations, each of these tribes and small kingdoms, because it was divided, had their own deities that we now understand as demons. You see a lot of maps and a lot of history related to it. Then he looks at the very specific archaeological findings, temples to specific, for example, temple in the city of Ekron to Baal-zebub. So they are. This is not just like some kind of like grimoire that we might invoke something and get the gnosis from this from the spirit, but this goes really into the archaeological findings, the places, the names. I was using a lot of information from this book in my videos, for example, when I was making a video about Baal-zebub or Astaroth. It's really one of the main sources of even of my knowledge. So you will learn a lot in the beginning about the Canaanite history, about the region, about the influence of Egypt, about Sumerian, Babylonian, Akkadian deities, deities of the Philistines, and so on. The historical chapter, however, it's still taken from the position of the left-hand path, so it's not like a dry academical study. It contains a lot of information. I would consider it as like popular science, So you find a lot of things there, sources, but it's still like readable even for the general audience, someone who is not an archaeologist or does religionistic studies. But it's a little bit like more complex reading. Yeah. So. It contains a lot of beautiful information also about the so-called Canaanite pantheons, how these deities were, what were the hierarchies between them. Also, he explains a lot about the depictions of the Canaanite deities, compares them with the depiction of the Egyptian deities, specific items, tools that were like weapons that were taken as a symbol of this specific deities. So also a lot of nice information is here. And then he starts to speak a little bit about the Yahweh, there are nice chapters about the god, demons, spirits, Yahweh, and the delusion of monotheism. Yeah, so it was like a cult of Yahweh was practically a prevailing cult later on, and the winners write the history. But the history is not only written by the Bible, but also by a lot of historical sources that were found later on during the archaeological excavations. And these things are mentioned also in this book. There goes maybe the first 100 pages, and later on he starts to describe and speak about the specific deities, the origin of the name Leviathan, for example, that it might come from the old Canaanite Ugaritic pantheon, the deity of the sea, rivers, ocean, abyss. The namings of the abyss, the deity was called Yam. And you see, he even provides these descriptions in the Ugaritic writing. So you can use these old Ugaritic depictions of the names of the gods even in your workings. You don't have to use our Latin alphabet. So we have it. A lot of names are in Ugaritic script here. With the descriptions, where is the name coming on from? They are also Hebrew later on mentionings on Leviathan circle, where it all comes from. So a lot of information about the ancient deities, from which names of the gods. Later on, these names of these Canaanite gods were changed into the names of the demons. So he speaks about such entities like even Yam. Yeah. There are several deific masks of Yam, snakes of Litan, Leviathan, Tunanu, Ishtimi, Lahu. Yeah, so there are even elements of fire. Nice pictures about and depictions of the demonic or let's say godly entities that were practically the gods of the old Canaanite deities. For he speaks also a little bit even about different currents. Like there was a Phoenician god of winds, underworld. His name was called Dagon. So we know, for example, for those fans of Lovecraft, the god Dagon, practically it comes from this entity. So, but the Dagon was a real deity, and he does not stay only in the theory. Dagon and invocation of Dagon, forms of this god of the underworld. Again, a lot of information about these specific deities. Later on, he speaks about Baal. Baal means like a master, a lord. There were so many Baals in this area, and he described these several types of Baals, Baal-Zebuth, Baal-Set, and so on, that were worshipped at that time. Nice pictures all the time, depictions of the demons, and he speaks also about Astaroth, about Mot, I mentioned Baal as well. And from these names, later on come also the name of the modern demons like Belial. He tries to explain also the topography of the Canaanite underworld. So all these old names that are also can be found now in Kabbalah, for example, the hell, the Sheol, the place of dead, city of Mot, fields of death, Abaddon, which was also a valley of the underworld. These names later on that took the name also of the demons and entities are described here in very, very deep detail. So he practically covers dozens of deities and entities with different names. I can name also later on, there is an information about Nephilim, Rephaim, also little bit. He touches also the objects of the Egyptian deities. What were the differences between the Canaanite deities and those? Baal-zebub, so there are so many information about him. If you are and sigils and things, this comes and goes and goes and goes, maybe until the 2/3 of the book. We describe so many pantheons, and really, if you are interested, and you always I notice some people on our shows or live shows, or when I do have so many questions from you, like what is Astaroth? What is the name? Is it the goddess? Is it the god? What's the name of the Ishtar? Who is Belial? If you take time and effort and read this book, it will help you tremendously to answer these questions. Yeah. So you will know a lot about the hierarchy and history of the Canaanite gods, and later, of course, these are that were later on renamed or changed into the or demonized in medieval times. If you have this book later in the second half, you will the Mr. Ford is describing the techniques of working with these types of demons. So and gods. Yeah, so there are small chapters also about the preparation, working with chakras, Ugaritic alphabets for you to create specific symbolics in your rituals, incantations and cult hymns. So many practitioners ask, like, what should they say when working with these entities. So there are invocations of Yamlitan, many things, Belial, Baal-zebub, Astaroth, Mot, Dagan, and others. Yeah, so many incantations and workings that working with necromantic entities, with the spirits of the dead, and so on and so on. Also, there is at the end of the book, he describes how all of this knowledge was later on adapted in the medieval times into the medieval grimoires. He speaks a little bit also about how early Christianity understood the space, the cosmos around them. So how the heavens and how the name of the angels come from this. New Testament Christian hell compared to the old hell from the Ugaritic times, and a lot of descriptions of the newer names of the demons in the Hebrew alphabet. A lot of information. So if I could maybe wrap it up, this book contains so much information that it is maybe even too much. I consider it as one of the best resources for the left-hand path practitioners on the if you would like to work with the ancient deific masks and forms of demons before they become demons, before they were called gods. So if you want to work with these older forms, this is the book you go through. What are the small hindrances or things that I can say that I did not like? Probably I liked it very much, but the book is really sometimes difficult to read because it contains so much information, and the way it is structured is that sometimes you have a little bit difficulties to orientate within it because there is so much information crammed in. So one reading of this book is not enough. It is a book that you work with. That's why I think also the hardcover might be better later on. Otherwise, I would say that there is nothing else on the market, that can compare with this. If we want to speak about the gods and demons of Canaan, so all of the information also about Lilith and so on is here. So Mr. Ford did a tremendous, amazing work. Only thing is that really it is sometimes hard to navigate, not so easy for someone who starts with this and to work with it. You always have to make some notices or look at, because the chapters are not in, I would say it's not made very much like chronologically. It is there are sometimes you can find information about Baal-Zebub in the first part of the book, then in the end. So it was like a working document put together. So that's the only thing that I maybe like a little bit less. But I give this book 4 stars of 5. The 5th star is only that maybe it should be in the next edition a little bit reworked, so it's more accessible to find these informations. If you are looking for specific hymn or so, it's sometimes hard to find it. But so 4 stars of 5. I recommend this. It is one of the best book about left-hand path that I have read. So my friends, I hope you liked the review, and now it's time again to offer you 3 books that you can choose for me to review next week. And I will offer you, the first option is related to my latest video about the Olympian spirits and about the planetary magic. It's a grimoire that works very closely with these magics of planets in the Western mystery tradition. And the book is called Practical Planetary Magic by Mr. Rankin. Although the title might sound like not so interesting, it contains a lot of information about working with the planetary spirits, working with the sigils of the planet, working with magic squares, gematria numbers, gemology, concentrating amulets, talismans a lot on. This is like real true grimoire with which I wouldn't consider only like about the planets, but can also work with very dark entities. So option number 1 is here. The second book, I was thinking a lot of time like whether we should give a second chance to some books that ended on the second place, and really few of you were writing to me, maybe you could review it again. So this offer or this week will be a little bit special. I'm going, the option number 2 is returning book for you to choose from if you want. If not, you can try others. And it's a black dark grimoire by Mr. Connor Kendall, the Necromancer. It contains the specific of working with the spirits of the dead, the entities of the dead, with the necromantic energies. This book ended last time, I think also second, and now you have option to maybe let me review it or not. And for the third option, I thought a lot whether I should put it for review or not, but probably many of us, or majority of us, know this book and have been working with it, but maybe some of the newcomers in the occult and specifically Left Hand Path and Demonolatry would like to know about this before they even read it. So this is like the absolute beginning or something, an elementary book for all students of Goetia. The Three Magical Books of Solomon, written by Mr. Aleister Crowley. So it's a classics, Mr. MacGregor Mathers and Mr. Caniber. The Testament of Solomon, his greater and lesser keys in one volume. So it's not only lesser key of Solomon, but also the greater key of Solomon. And I can speak about this basic book for you if you are interested. So friends, let me know. I will create a vote on my YouTube channel and speak to you next week. Thank you and have a great day.